Hi, welcome back to Soggy Granola. I am so glad you're here. Today, I am going to be sharing with you my St. Patrick's Day activities that you can do at home with your little ones. I have 3 activities to share with you today. The first one is a little science experiment. The other one is water play, and the third is sensory play. If you've been around for a while, you know how much I love the holidays and incorporating them into our home and into my son's playtime routine. So let's get started. The first activity I'm going to share with you is a science experiment, the good old-fashioned baking soda and vinegar. For this activity, you are going to need a tray. This is going to catch all of the overflow. You're also going to need baking soda, vinegar, some glitter or confetti, little cauldrons. I actually got these off of Amazon. I will link them down below. Food coloring, and a measuring spoon if that's something that you are interested in. To set up this activity, it's pretty simple and straightforward. I'm sure you've done this at some point in your life as well. So I took a half a tablespoon of baking soda and put it at the bottom of each of the cauldrons, and my initial goal was to make each cauldron a different color by adding food coloring to the baking soda, but I only had the gel food coloring. I think if you use liquid, I would put a drop or 2 into each cauldron, but because that didn't really work with the food coloring that I have, I opted to just give my son green vinegar. So I tinted the vinegar green, and all of our pots just overflowed with green, which was still super fun and festive. I also put some confetti in some of them because I thought that would be super fun to have the confetti overflow the cauldron as well. And as you can see, my son had a blast. I wasn't really sure how he would take to this activity, so I was really happy and surprised to see that this is something that he really enjoyed. The fun part about this is even though they put vinegar and they overflow these cauldrons, as long as there's still baking soda in the bottom, it's going to continue to fizz. And even once it's on the tray, it's just a really cool sensation to hear the bubbles, to see the bubbles, and then to actually feel the tray as well, because you can feel the baking soda grittiness on the bottom, but you can actually feel the bubbles popping as well. So this is a great sensory activity. It's a great science experiment all around. So many benefits to this one, and it's super fun.
Well, look at that!
Look at that.
The second activity is water play. This one I thought that my son would really be into because he loves water play, and he was, just not quite in the way that I was expecting. So for this activity, we are going to sink the cauldron. We are currently learning in our home about density and weight, so I thought that this would be really up his alley. You are going to need some cauldrons. Again, these are the ones that I used from the previous activity. You're also going to need a couple different items that you can use to sink the cauldrons. So I used some pennies because they are heavier in weight, these little plastic coins off of Amazon, and I also used some of these green acrylic gemstones. Again, they are from Amazon. Lastly, you are going to need some water and some sort of bin to put the water into so that you can sink the cauldrons. Now, the goal of this is to use the different materials that you have of different weights to sink the cauldrons and see how many you need of each item to sink the cauldron, or a combination. Now, though this was the goal of this activity, and because we were working with weight and density, I thought that my son would really take to that. He just loves playing in water and seeing if things themselves were sink or float. So we just ended up with everything at the bottom of the bin. He had fun playing with this. He probably spent 20 to 30 minutes just putting things in the bin and taking them out and putting them back in. We didn't really do the goal of this activity, but I think it's really important to let our children take the lead. He was still learning and exploring. His senses were still being activated. So even though it didn't go as I planned, he had a great time. It was still beneficial. So if your kiddos don't necessarily follow the plan, that's okay. Let them do what works for them. And the last activity that I have is sensory play. I'm a huge fan of sensory play. I've talked about it several times on this channel. So every month I do a different themed sensory bin for my son. This month was St. Patrick's Day. So here is a look at our sensory bin. You can see that we have some green kinetic sand and then hid some different confetti and coins in there so that he could dig them out. We have some of those green acrylic gemstones, the little cauldrons and the coins, as well as some loose parts and white fuzzy cotton balls. My son has so much fun with this one. I think it's one of my favorite ones to date. And since we're on the topic of sensory play, you know that I could not mention my favorite sensory bin. This is by Young, Wild, and Friedman, and I love that they have all of these different themed play kits already prepared for you. So while I do enjoy putting the sensory table together and choosing different elements each month to be in there, Young, Wild, and Friedman takes all of the guesswork out. It's super convenient in these reusable totes so that you can put them away, store them, and pull them out at a later date as well. And they have them for each holiday. They have different themes. They have such a wide variety. I also love that their kits come with Play-Doh. They have hands down the best Play-Doh that we've tried. So I thought that I would mention this because if you are a working mama or you just don't have the time or the space or just the brain power to put together a sensory table for your little one, this is definitely a great option for you to be able to provide your child with that sensory play without even having to think about it. They do offer a subscription that comes to your door every month, and I just have been super impressed with every kit that we have gotten from them. So I highly recommend the Young, Wild, and Friedman sensory kits. So that wraps up today's video of activities that you can do at home with your little ones for St. Patrick's Day. I hope that you enjoyed and found this helpful. If you did, I would love if you would consider subscribing to my channel. I post new videos on Tuesdays and Fridays and would love for you to be part of this community. It was so great having you today, and I'll see you again soon. Bye!